Yeah. Could we get on with this meeting, please, if that's okay with everybody? We're going to start off with a presentation by Ben Williscroft. Have I got that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Ben Williscroft, who worked for the ESPC, and his job is conservation of village areas, although not always villages, of course, but most of them. And I'd like you to start. You are, in fact, offering a sort of presentation which is on behalf of another consultant, but that's true?
Yes, yeah, so the work itself was done by a consultant, but it's going to be obviously progressed by ourselves at the council. So.
Jolly good, I'll let you get on with it.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much for inviting me this evening, so much appreciated. I hope you find this to be useful as part of the ongoing consultation for the conservation area appraisals. Just as a bit of background to the overall context of this consultation, it's not just Marchington that we're consulting upon, but we're consulting on 6 other conservation areas within the borough. So 5 other villages, Abbotsbromley, Marchington, Worcester, Tucker and Yoxall, and 2 within Burton-upon-Trent, which is George Street, a very small conservation area there, and also Station Street, Borough Road. So we want to do a mixture of urban and rural areas, essentially. Basically, what is all this about? The conservation area basically defines special architectural historic interest of which it is desirable to preserve and enhance. And that's given in the legislation, as you can see there. Conservation areas have been established for a good number of years now, originally set up by the Civic Communities Act 1967, so as I say, they've been well established for a fair few years. For example, Marchington Conservation Area was originally designated in 1970, so it's nothing particularly new, it's a well established designation. So basically what the appraisal does, and the purpose of it, is, okay, we've got this originally designated area, but the appraisal talks about, the existing conservation area, and effectively, is it still fit for purpose, essentially? And also, what else do we need to consider in order to make sure that the conservation area remains a special area? So undertaking appraisal is a statutory requirement under the Act. And also, it's a useful tool, really, for quite a wide audience, mainly for building owners, for people, residents who live within, business owners that live in the conservation area, but also for developers and agents who maybe will be working on plan proposals which may be within the conservation area. So, for example, if for an agent who's in charge of undertaking an extension for someone, for example. They also be used as a material consideration for plan applications, so development control officers use them to assess conservation plan permissions or plan applications from those areas, and also for plan appeals as and when they occur. They also, because it's mainly a two-pronged thing in terms of how the appraisal informs us and providing information. The development control process, as I mentioned, but also to inform our emerging local plan and to provide evidence base for the historic environment policies as part of that. And also they are used for highways, so it informs highway specialists should they have any proposals within conservation areas. Also, the appraisal identifies areas that may wish to be enhanced. So in a nutshell, they define special areas of character and appearance, they identify positive and negative areas, they identify important views, vistas and focal buildings, they recommend review of the existing boundaries, and of course, we want your involvement as part of this as well. We certainly value any local knowledge which may be essential in order to inform the appraisal before it becomes adopted. So what are the sort of things that we're talking about in terms of special interest? well, we talk about the layout, the roads, the building lines, patterns of development, landscape, open areas, gardens, trees, spaces within buildings, building traditions, vernacular architecture such as the style, form, scale and massing, materials and details, and the overall streetscape, boundaries, paving materials, signs, lampposts, street furniture, the sort of things a lot of people take for granted because it's there, but if they weren't there you're sure to know about it. And also gateway features. What are the entrance points, the key points that you go through in terms of entering into a conservation area? Are there any sort of transitional points, sort of a sense of entry to a village or what have you? There's quite a soft thing as well in terms of what's important, the smells and sounds. Obviously I mentioned, you know, we've done a mixture of rural and urban areas, so obviously those vary quite considerably. Like I said, the conservation areas have been established for quite a number of years now, but the whole thing is evolving quite rapidly in terms of it's not just about individual buildings in the conservation area, but it's also about other matters, historic environment matters, such as archaeology and design and things like that. So we've got landmark views, open views and glimpse views. Those are the ones that you sort of, if you're walking on the pavement, you see a certain vista through, landscape beyond, that sort of thing. Those little things that you think, oh, that's really interesting, and it gives, you know, special value to the area. So it's not just the conservation area itself, but there's a degree of buffer around it, for views in and out of it. So the boundary review, there's one minor one for Marchington, which are available on maps, and there are some spare copies if people want to view it in any further detail. That's part of the appraisal and recommendation. So, like I said, changing perceptions, value over time, looking at degraded areas, brownfield land, how can that be improved. We're also doing these appraisals so they're in accordance with current policy guidelines. Like I said, the Emerging Local Plan, National Plan Policy Framework, which is, came through in 2012, and also the latest English Heritage guidance. So basically we have to be very careful as to what we include in the conservation area. If we do it too widely, then obviously that dilutes the whole purpose of it. So we have to be very clear in terms of how we define it, but also we need to demonstrate how conservation areas can be beneficial in planning terms. So yes, you can see the proposed minor amendment in the red hatched line. So that plan is basically on that plan there. I won't go through this in real detail, but it basically covers the overall process of undertaking this document and the overall process of getting it through to approval. So at the moment, these are the places that we've got it out to consultation, including hard copies and libraries and our customer services centres. But also online as well, on our conservation area appraisal page, and also on our online planning policy portal page. So what do we do after all this? Does it just end? Well, no, it doesn't. We obviously, this is all part of an ongoing appraisal. It will be looked at again in future years, as the case with other conservation areas in the borough. And obviously any boundary changes as part of that, and we notify any affected owners and landowners as part of that exercise. So over to you in terms of any questions.
Questions, right. This has a benefit to the village, I believe, in the strength that it gives some strength to future building projections types. Because I noticed that in your design sort of guidance, you actually state should new develop. Is this your words or?
It's mainly written by the consultants.
Ah,
so,
okay. So
yeah.
I'm not going to quite choose that. Okay, but it does say should new development be forthcoming in a village or areas adjoining the conservation area, the design should be specific to Marchington and should enhance the character of the conservation area. As such, standard off the peg houses designs will not be acceptable. So that might be interesting to the action group, who I believe are here somewhere. So I'd like to throw open the meeting to any questions about the conservation area.
Could I mention something? I noticed the red line actually goes through an area which was the Catholic Church site, which has been demolished.
Yeah.
And there are now 2 large houses that are near completion of construction.
Three.
No, there are only 2
Oh, sorry.
currently.
Two so far.
2, sorry, yeah.
Two so far.
No, there are 2
in
construction. One, yeah, okay, there's the one in the background, but
Yeah.
can you just say how that relates to that? So this red line actually,
Yes.
you're saying that that protection of Allen's Lane and Hall Road, that is a character that you wish to preserve. At the moment, there's a fence, a wooden fence there, which
Yeah.
is a temporary thing that the builders put in.
Yeah.
But can you say what you're attempting to preserve within that?
Yes,
red
yeah.
base?
There's a Victorian detached dwelling in that little area there.
In
So
the
it's
road
mainly
opposite, on the opposite side, yes.
Yeah. So it's made to.
But on the side where that line runs through the old Catholic Church site,
Yeah.
it's a building site. It's near completion of 2 houses.
Yeah. Yeah. I think along there are some trees, which I think that's why it's sort of drawn in that way.
Yes.
So it's like a bit of a
There
buffer
are
point
some
between
trees,
that.
yeah. And are
So it's
you
made for that
trying to
purpose.
preserve
Yeah.
the bank? There was an
Yeah.
earth bank
Yeah.
that's there.
Yeah.
So that is something that you're trying to preserve.
Yes, yeah, in that instance, and also it's a little bit tricky there because obviously it's on a bit of a dog leg there, so it's trying not to create sort of an own little island, as it were, which wouldn't make any real sense. So it's trying to create a little bit of permeability between those two areas really along the road. But yeah, I mean Marchington's quite an interesting one because it's not just about the buildings, but it's also about the trees and the overall
And
setting
the
of
embankments,
landscape
the side of the embankments, yeah.
yeah, which is very distinctive to
Yeah.
Marchington, so obviously that's all part of the
And the hedges.
parcel of the whole thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know, it's part of the overall setting. Yeah.
Any more questions on that conservation point? Sir?
I would just like to ask, it was indicated that the development would be used for future planning. Does this give carte blanche proceedings for developers themselves to build on any land that they want to outside that conservation area?
Well, the conservation area status itself doesn't prohibit development, but it asks for obviously high quality design for any development, which is appropriate for its overall historic character and setting. So obviously as a council, for any development proposals that come forward, we expect high quality design as a matter of course. But conservation area status brings it up on another level again, really, in terms of what we're after, in terms of design principles and what we expect to see. So it may be, for example, in the use of materials in any new builds, but also the overall spacing and form of the builds as well. So, for example, making sure that we have an appropriate density, for example. So again, reflecting what is currently special in the area.
So this would reflect buildings adjacent?
Yes, it would expect to, because for example we would expect to see a developer to take certain design cues from buildings, whether it's architectural features or particular historic styles, materials, red brick, Staffordshire blues, blue clay tiles, things like that. We expect to see that in terms of giving the whole area some degree of continuity. So, for example, there may be some cases where there may be contemporary design proposed, but it may use historic materials, and that may be appropriate. So, you know, obviously
It
it's
depends how
it's-
this-
yeah, I mean, even within conservation areas, there's different character areas within them, so there may be different design solutions for
Mrs
it.
Miller, I think you wanted, so I can, thank you. You're obviously getting agitated, so.
Oh, I'm not getting that. I just wanted to be sure you saw me.
Yeah.
The English Heritage Site has a very interesting article called Turning the Plough, which is all about medieval sites.
Yes.
And it states on there that ridge and furrow sites are becoming very rare. We have one in Jack Lane. Can we not include that in the conservation area to enhance the conservation area? I know the hedge along there is a minimum of 30 years old. So that should be, I think, is it 30 years that hedges have to be before you preserve them?
It could be, as I said, the whole thing about conservation area designation, and it's looking at it a lot more holistically, and it can also include archaeological significance. So if those are the views of Marchington residents, I'm happy to receive those in terms of proposed extension to that area.
So it could be added.
It could be added in there, definitely. Like I say, you know, in terms of if anything came forward development-wise, obviously it wouldn't restrict that, but obviously it may add in terms of any archaeological conditions that could be added in terms of any archaeological work being taken forward prior to development taking place, such as watching briefs and things like that.
Thank you. Mr. Heapy, I think?
Yeah. Could you tell me what, if any, conservation areas take into account road humps, road changes, chicanes and this sort of thing, which can change the character of the area?
Yes, I mean that's extremely important. It's a very important point really, because obviously road, highway infrastructure can in some cases have a devastating effect on the character conservation area. Like I say, it's not just about the buildings, but it's of the overall setting of the area. So if you get too much signage or road markings or things like that, then it can be significantly harmful to the conservation area. So again, it's why we sort of want to work with highways in terms of ensuring that if there are proposals for any traffic calming, for example, that they're done in a sensitive manner to reflect the status of the conservation area.
Right.
So,
within the document there's a mention of gateways. There are several gateways into the village. The one on Jack's Lane, which is the area of contention, is described as weak, but further development might weaken that even further. What considerations do you do in context to that gateway in planning terms? Because you know, clearly in some respects the context of a village and its landscape is important. If you take away the landscape around it by building forevermore building out, then you lose the context of that area. And I just wondered where that gateway stood within the scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, Jack's Lane's quite an interesting one, because normally what you expect when you come to a gateway is have development and buildings on both sides of the road, because that provides an obvious entrance point. Obviously that's not the case there, so
gateway
you could...
is, Ben, I think is there, which is where the modern development took place, which is Woodlands Rise.
I mean, obviously being relatively modern development, that's probably hasn't been helpful in some ways in terms of addressing that. In some ways it sort of backs itself from Jack's Lane, which I don't think helps that. So in terms of any future development, I think as a general principle, I think the orientation of buildings and the layout of them are critical in order to create, you know, those strong gateways. So it's not so much the design of the buildings themselves, or even things like orientation could make a major difference. So, for example, in some areas you have a toll house, for example, and that provides a very significant sort of entrance to a particular area. So you may want something like that to be developed.
Sorry,
That's it.
Could I just come back for just one more comment there? So, with regards to that area, I think what people want to know at the moment, people are being told there's going to be an outline planning application put there. So that's in principle. Is that good enough for something that is directly adjacent to a conservation area, or should it be the full application so that obviously the whole scheme can be judged on its merits?
I mean, an application should be accommodated with a heritage statement. It's obviously to basically articulate those heritage issues and conservation area status, because even if the whole site was adjacent to the conservation area, it has to take account of it. So, like I say, those peripheral areas around conservation areas are probably just as important as if it was within it anyway. So yes, I mean the developer has to take account of the overall setting of the conservation area.
Clive, you want to do this? And then can I make the last question, unless anybody else...
There's a lady over there.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not from
Do you mind,
here.
Clive?
I'm not from the area, but I do go to other areas and I do a lot of walking.
Uh-huh.
And I'd like to know if any of the projects you've got in at the moment and for the future are going to affect any public footpaths as a keen walker.
There are 2 developments proposed, but they don't involve, to my knowledge, footpaths. There's one in Jack's Lane which hasn't got one, and the other one is possibly Silver Lane. No, the answer to that is no, as far as I'm aware.
As far as you're aware, not for the future either. Or would you be able
Well,
to
I
get
can
back to us
possibly
on
talk
that?
about whether
No, but I mean,
some
if there's anything in the near, I want back in the near future, because obviously I would like to have seen a map of the actual thing up on the screen, so I could have had a look as well if possible.
There are quite a number of footpaths around Marchington, which is used by everybody, children, dog walkers and everybody else. And they're not, there's no, as far as I know, influence to... In fact, they've been slightly extended to some extent. But, and we're looking after footpaths, and we're also looking after the actual entrances to them.
Yeah, my partner's ex-military, so he does a lot of walking, and obviously he cycles in all different areas, especially around these areas. And
Yes,
I'm
it's
here on his
popular.
behalf.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, right. Well, no, there's no plans to...
Because obviously every area deserves to have visitors coming in. We might not, obviously,
I think the shop,
live
the
in
local
the
shop, the
area.
music shop would welcome you.
Yeah, but sometimes you're not always welcome in these meetings. I have had that before, but it is a valid point that there is people that like to come in to explore other people's areas of beauty, obviously. And we like to know what the plans are. Perhaps.
There are no changes, as far as I know.
Okay.
Clive?
Thank you, Chair. I'll just briefly explain who I am for the
Sure, of
benefit
course.
of people who are here. I'm a planning advisor who is retained by the Parish Council to work with the neighbourhood plan group, specifically on the neighbourhood plan. So I'm not a Parish Council member, I'm not here to make recommendations or influence decisions. But the work that's been done through the conservation area appraisal is very timely and it does relate to what you're trying to achieve in the neighbourhood plan. So I just wanted to ask one question and then make 1 or 2 comments as to why it is timely. The question was, what's the consultation deadline on the appraisal?
Yes, I should have mentioned that in my presentation. Yes, the deadline is Friday the 13th of March.
And is that fixed? Is there any opportunities for people to ask for an extension in
It
time
is
or
fixed,
anything?
but it's obviously we're coming towards Purdah period, so which we can't do much within that period anyway. So if anything came in for a week after that, then that should be fine.
Yeah.
So if there are any sort of extenuating circumstances as to
Okay.
extension.
Well, if I can just make 1 or 2 comments about the appraisal there. The neighbourhood plan that you were working on, that legally can't alter conservation area boundaries. So in actual fact, it's quite timely that the appraisal is being done at the same time as the neighbourhood plan, because it means you're able to address that issue. And some of the content of the appraisal, even as it stands in draft form, is also going to be very useful to develop more detailed neighbourhood plan policies about design standards and criteria. Some of the comments in the appraisal are also very relevant to an exercise that we are probably going to embark on quite shortly, to do what's called a character study of the village and its surroundings. and we can take out some of the important stuff about certain lanes, views of the church, the importance of hedges and that sort of thing from that study and bolt into that, which will be exceptionally useful.
So you'll be using part of this appraisal
Yes.
document?
Yes.
You would.
But which is good. And sort of further on that really, I think, I assume that the Parish Council may wish to comment formally on the appraisal, and if it does, I wondered if there's a mechanism whereby the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group could actually write a set of comments that it could submit to the, Parish Council for consideration along that, alongside that.
So it's from the steering committee?
Yes. If the steering committee is willing to do
Having
that.
got these comments, what do we do with them?
Well, I assume that the Borough Council is, there is a consultation mechanism on the website, for people to respond to specific questions.
And that's got to go in before the 13th of March, I take it?
Yes. I mean, in my judgment, I think you could put in some fairly sensible comments within that.
From my point of view, it's up to you. I mean, you can submit separate steering group comments to parish council comments, as well as individually, of course. So I don't mind. It's very much up to you how you want to.
So it's coming to you, Ben?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Fine. If I may, can I close that sort of session on thank you for that. Thank you very much for coming in and explaining it all. Now, now I understand that PC Shepherd, Josie, is it?
That's me.
We haven't met, I'm afraid. But,
No, that's why I'm here.
but you're down here to tell us if you've got any problem in the neighbourhood or...
Yeah, well, really, I've come along this evening. Hello, everybody. Just to sort of introduce myself to the Parish Council, anybody who's here. My name's PC Shepherd, and I'm an area officer. Marchington is one of the areas I cover. I came into covering this area in about June. Now, a lot of you may be more familiar with PC Bolter,
Yes,
who's covered this area for quite a long time, so I'm working alongside him now. And I've just come here this evening really to introduce myself, to pick up if there was any problems from the Parish Council themselves or anything they wanted me to take away. I've worked out of Uttoxeter for about 23 years, so I'm very
Never
familiar.
seen you.
Never seen me, can't believe it. I actually have been working very much one of the urban areas around the town centre itself for probably about 10 years. So
right.
I've had a very small patch with lots of people living on it. And they sent me out to the fields. It's a lot more beautiful. So if anybody, I just want you to know that I'll try and attend when I can. Obviously, the invite is me. Yeah.
Okay.
If there is anything you want to relay to me, the clerk has emailed me. We've already done that. If anybody else would like to get in touch with me, I'm available on email. I'll leave a little pile of my cards here for anybody to take. I don't intend taking questions from anyone now because I don't want to hijack the Parish Council meeting, and that can sometimes happen with the police officer. Also, unfortunately, I have got another appointment to make over at Burton. So if there is anything from the Parish Council that you feel I should know about before I shoot off, please feel free.
I don't know whether Councillor Roberts wants to raise something, did he?
Is she still carrying
Sorry.
It's about monthly or 2 monthly, you have a meeting within the village, or are you proposing to still carry on doing those?
We are. They're held at the Marchington shop, weren't they?
That's it, yeah.
Sarah, your PCSO, who was your previous PCSO, used to hold them at Marchington shop, I believe. I'm hoping to get those up and running now we're into the new year.
Okay.
So if you just leave that with me, those kind of meetings I'll try and publicise in the shop itself, in the newspaper, and they'll also be on the website, Staffordshire Police website. And if you look for me on there, those meetings will be aligned to myself and PC Bolter.
Okay.
I don't know if you're aware, you've also got 2 PCSOs who are covering the area with myself and Rich now. That's PCSO Leslie Hardware and Zoe Evans. So there's 4 of us in all covering the area. but it's quite extensive. We are sort of doing Barton, Hanbury, Abbots Bromley, Draycott, you know,
Yeah.
and over towards Kingston. So it is quite extensive, and Newbury, All Cross. But there is more of us now, so we should manage it quite well.
Good.
Anything else before I shoot off?
Unless anybody has any strict, very limited questions, I don't think so. Or am I speaking for two ahead?
Yeah? No? I'll leave these here then.
Yes, that would be great.
And do feel free to take them, anybody, and you can email me or telephone me. That'd be great. Okay, nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No. I'd arranged with the clerk that I would come along to observe the conservation area item in connection with the neighbourhood plan. As I say, I'm not formally connected with the meeting, so I will hold this down if that's...
I quite understand. Very good. That's great.
Thank you.
That's grand. Right. Yes. Now, we have a report, I think, from Mr. Heapy about flooding, or rather lack of it at the moment, thank goodness.
At the moment, thank goodness, yeah. Can I just park this in here for a minute?
Yeah. Take the weight off your feet.
Absolutely. Right, before I go on to the flooding question, this has come about basically because of the group that are acting for Jack's Lane. I had a meeting to do with the flooding with the various heads of the authorities, the Environment Agency, Staffordshire, last week, and we did a walk around the village. Over the past 3 years, as a lot of people around the table know, a lot of things have happened in the village, like cleansing and things have happened. We've had a full survey done. During this time, there were several models done by the Environment Agency. These were done to prove where the water flow came from, where it went, and all the various levels were taken in the village. We've now moved on to the next stage, where we have been accepted in a plan for Staffordshire to get all this work done. Now, as part of that process, we met last week with consultants that have now been employed by Staffordshire to carry out the final work on the models. And they are then going to come back with various options to be approved by the authorities, and they will then go out to tender. Now, the timescale for these things to happen is till the end of April, beginning of May, for the extra reports to come back in. So I've had all the feedback, we're moving forward, and because that Marchington was one of the few areas to get things moving early before this government money started to flow into the situation, we're reasonably top of the list in the areas. So we are almost ready to go with this scheme, but that will happen. We'll get the go ahead later this year. So it's good.
Is that the same scheme that we got a letter on from?
No, that was part of all the fees that are going out to all these consultants and things like that.
Yeah,
from,
okay.
From Mr. Griffiths. And when I was walking around with these guys, I thought it would be a good chance to speak to them about Jack's Lane, to get some feedback from them. And I gave details of it, what was happening. Severn Trent have sent it to their asset division to decide how they're going to respond to it. But I've had a report from David Hughes, who's the boss of Staffordshire flooding area. And if I may, I'll read it out to the meeting so you all know what's going on. I've got copies for the council. We have been consulted on the proposed Jack's Lane development site as part of the ESBC's proposed housing allocations. I've also spoken to the agents for the developer on the phone. Our response so far is summarised as follows. The site suggested is in flood zone 1 according to the Environment Agency indicative flooding management. This means they are unlikely to be consulted. This is the Environment Agency. We have no predicted surface water flooding on this site. There is an area of predicted flooding in Jack's Lane adjacent to the site. Flooding has been reported here in the past, although it doesn't appear to be directly affected by the proposed access to the site. We have not seen details on how the surface water will be disposed of from the development site, but we would expect to be consulted on this issue by the SBC when a formal application is submitted. I have raised considerable concerns that there does not appear to be a convenient local sewer, ditch or pipe to dispose of the water from the site. I have explained to the developer's agent that the highways drains in Jacks Lane are investigated by Camel recently after the flooding. Problems experienced within the village have been looked at. That survey showed that the highway drains are in a very poor state of repair, and we believe that many have been collapsed when other works were carried out by service providers in the area in Jacks Lane. We believe this leads to repeated flooding problems at the junction of Woodlands Views and Jacks Lanes and round to Bag Lane. This problem has been reported to the highways and added to the list of highway drainage problems. It would appear water can still drain eventually, but the capacity of the pipes appears to be severely restricted. So surface water on the road occurs whenever we have heavy rainfall. For that reason, it is very unlikely highways would agree to a new development discharging the surface water into the existing system unless the developer helps with the future repairs and costs of the system involved. I believe that the developer is proposing to discharge surface water to the local Farrell sewer, which means it would become combined with the sewage system, as this is an old system within the village. I do not know whether this has been agreed with Severn Trent, this is the asset management, we haven't come back yet, but I would require evidence that this has been agreed with them before any action should happen. I do not think soakaways could work in this area. Overall, we have no reason to object in principle to development. It is not on any predicted floodplain, but we would require various assurances from the developer that the site has been acceptable means of disposal of the surface water from the site. So long as that could be established and the help to the village generally, we would look at it again. So that's the view of the Staffordshire Highways as to what's happening on that particular site.
Not quite what the developers said.
There you go, I'll give you a copy of it.
That drawing has got a bouncing pond.
They've got a balancing pond, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be empty or some.
But I don't think that's going to from ad hoc walking around it. I don't think that's an acceptable solution.
No.
Yeah, so, but I'll let you know a couple of the previous correspondence. So, but the good news is we're on it. So it's actually something's going to happen with the flow.
Very good.
Very good.
That was excellent.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, we now
Apologies. Has everybody got an agenda that
Yep.
needs
Are there some copies of the agenda for the public, please?
Sorry?
Are there some copies of the agenda for the public, please?
It's only there. Just pass them over. Minutes is the last one.
Do you think a village member could have the agenda instead of the visitors?
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, let's start off with the meeting as in situ, which is minutes of the meetings at the last one, and I'd like to know whether anyone is happy to propose those and second them. We have a proposer?
I'll second.
And you're second, right. So I'll sign those in a second. You're all right. I shall do them now. Boss.
Chasing you tomorrow.
Tenth today.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Cheers.
that's it. So we'll go through the matters arising from the last meeting and what's been done about them. So we'll start off with the playground at Silver Lane. And you reported, Andrew,
Yep.
Councillor Mann, sorry, it was agreed to take down the conifer tree. Has that has been, as far as I know, been done?
It had not been done last time, no.
Yeah, no, Henry's taken
Oh, he's actually shortened it, right, okay.
Henry has taken it down now,
Right.
and he's asked if...
Oh, he has taken it down? Okay.
Yes, he's asked if he can take down the one next to it, because that's in a bad state as well. I sent you a picture of
Yep,
the
I
Julia
A replacement
skyrocket.
tree calling a skyrocket. Fast growing, obviously.
We could perhaps put 2 of those in if he takes the other one down, or do you want me to take a photograph of the other one before you decide?
Is it necessary to put up 2 more trees?
I think it's a self-setter horse chestnut or
A
something
concrete tree?
like that, yeah.
Right.
No, how big is it?
About the same size as the conifer was that the top broke out of.
And has that suffered some damage to that tree?
Well, there were 3 very close
Yeah,
together,
there were,
so
yeah.
when you took the first one down, then obviously it exposed the second one, and you could see how 3 grown together, very closely together, has made an impact.
Henry says it's not sensible, we have to go what he says, don't we?
Well, if it isn't safe, it should come down, shouldn't it?
I mean, I can go and take a photograph of it if you want to.
Leave it to the next meeting, get a
Yes,
photograph
take
down.
a photograph,
Show it.
yes, and we'll also have a look at it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want me to get this?
In the meantime, I think we're agreed that around the table we get a new tree, which is Mrs. Gurney.
That was agreed.
Yeah. She was very keen to have another tree, so
Yes, yeah.
we'll get this other tree, which is costing very little because it's coming from
It's not costing
ESBC.
anything.
It's not costing anything. A free tree, I don't know. So, that's
them all
that.
to replace the others.
Well, they had 5, so
One by one, please.
we'll get 2, I suppose, yeah.
We've got a report, I believe, from Jeannie on the
Yeah.
playground at Silver Lane. The metal gate still looks as though it hasn't been fixed.
It was shut.
What?
It was shut. You could see that it was tilted.
He's
Oh, I
had,
see.
he's had 2 goes at it.
It has been.
Has been fixed.
And can you pull it without?
Yeah.
You could last time I went through
You
it,
could.
that was a week ago.
Yeah.
yeah.
It just didn't look like it. Obviously, I didn't use padlock,
Yeah.
so I didn't.
Yeah, no, you definitely can open it.
Yeah.
Okay. Handles on both need, we were aware of this, this is the quad fly you're talking about.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
long
We're
standing.
aware of that, and we've actually got some detail to deal with that.
Yes, I
and,
met someone from Sutcliffe Play there last week. Basically, he came to advise us on the matting, but he also, I showed him that because it was a Sutcliffe Play item, and he took photographs of it because it's going musty at the bottom as well, and he said it shouldn't do that, so he's going to come back to me on that one.
What piece of equipment is that?
You know that
If
Well,
you're,
it's
if you're very,
outside the
rock spinner,
yeah,
the rock spinner.
if you're athletic, it's good. You've made a mention about there's a load of branches and twigs on the
Yes,
play
I
area, it needs
noticed.
cleaning up.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
And I noticed Councillor Mann, he said the same, didn't you, last time?
Yes, I believe Henry's going to get rid of that.
So that's the handyman's going to do that,
Yeah.
okay.
He's already done it once. I think they come down as quick as it can pick them
Yeah,
up.
there's an awful lot out there.
The flood committee is taking charge of the sandbags, I understand, Mr.
Yes,
Eaton.
we have the sandbags, but they haven't sent the sand yet. We should be here this week.
But you're in charge?
So it's on.
Fine, so we all know that, that's great, thank you. Have I? Don't use the wrong way around.
Yeah, that's the thing.
This is to do with the footpath, which is between Paul Rochefort and Mr Langston, the clerk and councillor
Yeah,
White
we went back
decided.
to Paul after his report. We went back to him and about the permissive path, and he explained
Right. Basically, what we've done there is we've submitted we haven't done anything, the Staffordshire County Council have done it, because unfortunately they seem to have reacted quickly because of, to some extent, their mistake. So we've now got a new gate, Mr Langston, haven't we?
I
believe so,
You've seen it? Good. So that means the path leads up to it
Yeah,
quite happily,
yeah,
and you can get access to it. I haven't been up there.
yes, if you can walk, yeah.
Yeah, if you can walk, yes, right, okay, so, which you clearly can.
What about those that can't?
Those that can't, I don't know. It's a gate.
Staffordshire County Council. They put
Yeah.
the gate in, not the County Council.
It's
Where's Councillor
it's a
Lynch?
kissing gate.
Right, public footpaths are the domain of Staffordshire County Council. That's how it works, not parish council.
Okay.
But can you actually raise that with the other council? If disabled people want to use it?
Yeah.
But we've done it.
And what has been their reaction?
They say to ask the parish area, and we've done that as well.
We're talking about the gate, we're talking about the public footpath, which is Staffordshire County Council as highways authority.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were referring to people.
No,
Okay.
I'm just talking about that gate.
Mhm.
I mean, I've not seen the gate,
No,
but
that's-
it's,
It's a small kissing gate.
It's not disabled, accessible. The other kissing gate further down the lane is accessible by a
well, they'll just
wheelchair.
write to the Staffordshire County Council and ask them whether or not they can make that one the same as the other one.
No, he told us at the meeting that they would only put in a small kissing gate.
Well, at the meeting, they said that they were going to just put a picket gate in, but
I think that's what he referred to,
He
wasn't it, as a picket gate, a small kissing
You
gate.
can only write to them and say that's been brought up.
We'll do that.
that's a disabled issue.
Okay. We've also had a report back with a Sutcliffe Play consultant, which is to do with the surface of the playground, which needs addressing to some extent. And we're looking at going around the sides of the various play areas to avoid any trip-ups. That's been done, and we're waiting to get cuts. The David Sher Memorial Playground at Forrest Side. Well, Councillor Ford, anything to report?
A few bits and bobs. The fence panel we talked about last time at the back of the house that's not occupied at the minute.
Okay,
Yes,
so-
I've been in touch with Bagshaws who have that property up for sale, and they are going to contact the owner and ask them to reinstate the
Yeah.
fence.
There's one loose curtain stone on the front wall, right in the middle. I did take a picture of it, but I haven't printed it off, but I can email it to you.
Okay.
Lovely job with that,
and
isn't it?
compare it to a clue to where it is.
It just needs re-cementing down, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it'll clean up, yeah.
Yeah.
The mole's still quite prevalent.
The mole.
We must find a mole catcher.
Yeah, I did ask a chap on there as a mole catcher, but he didn't want to take the job on.
Too many moles.
Yeah, well, he caught one very quickly in my garden, then he went to my mother's and he didn't have much success. So
Oh, I see. So you don't mark him well.
There's a guy in the village called Dave McCoy who's a mole catcher.
Dave McCoy.
He lives in Church Lane.
Thank you, Tony.
Need to speak to him.
Dave McCoy, can you make it?
McCoy. McCoy.
Yeah,
Right.
And the bottom frame around the rubber matting area, they're starting to suffer a bit more gold on silver line.
Well, if we get the quote for the Silver Lane, we'll
Yeah.
get the quote for the same ones in...
They asked me about the bin.
Yes,
There's a bin at the playing ground,
but the football,
but there's not one at football.
not a big black one.
No, just the dog poop bin.
Oh, right, okay. I'll have to go and have a look then, okay. Thank you.
And the trees been sorted out there now, taken away.
So,
Mark's quite happy to leave his name on it.
Yes,
He
he
is,
is.
yeah.
Yes, because he's still got the pegs which go within the football nets, yeah.
right, Green Lane, footpath number 41.
Yeah, it's been reported. They hadn't done it up to the weekend, but it's on their list to look at.
Okay, so they'll repair it as and when they can.
As and when, yeah.
Okay. We've dealt with the fact that the highways, have we? This is the clerk reporting the recent reports to
Yes.
Staffordshire County Council, which
Yeah,
is looking at
next-
flooding at Birch Cross.
Next to the book, footpath number 45, which is the one from Church Lane to Bridge.
Right, okay. Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
There was overhanging branches that we've reported, and they're going to contact the owner of the field to get him to cut them back because they said it was up to him.
and then the other two footpaths, 46 and 47, 2 new stars and 2 new star steps have been now replaced,
Yeah,
which is
they've
good.
been replaced, yeah.
And you've reported overhanging branches
That's
on the other footpath 45 as well, and you've done that.
Yeah.
So we're waiting, as you said, to contact the owner of the field.
Now this next one is what Paul reported.
Could I just say I'll be passing the book now to the other end of the science to get volunteer.
Oh, yes.
So,
Do keep that lady happy.
There's a comment from a parishioner about looking forward to seeing me clean
That's
the
right,
sign
cleaning the signs, yes.
at my end.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah.
I'm taking the book.
So,
That was the other one, yeah.
You need to-
clean the other end.
Yeah.
Well, you do your job properly, so. Okay.
this is what Sam came back to us about the water running from the field.
Oh, yes, this is something you picked up.
As you said, it's the farmers, I mean.
Yeah, unless the farmer does the work, basically, nothing's going to get done.
The farmers probably end up doing it themselves, because it's quite dangerous.
Because of the frosting and...
Do you know the farmer in question? Can you ask him?
Yes, I know. It's Alan,
So can I leave,
yeah,
leave that with
leave
you?
it with him, yeah.
Leave it with you, okay. Where are we?
He's reported it, she's
We've
done.
done that. Prison liaison meeting. I'm afraid you're the only person who could turn up, which is, I'm sorry to say, because there was two of us were supposed to come on with you, but we didn't, so I'm sorry about that, apologies. I had my problems. So we'd like to report, please.
Yeah, well, we're a designer coffee and rich tea biscuits. So used everything.
Okay.
Basically, what he's saying, he wants to get more involved with the parish from his officers. The prison has increased to 570 officers that are working there. Plus, there's the wing. There's another 36, but that's being taken over by healthcare, which is part of the NHS. So the prison is actually now sort of split into two.
Oh, right, so it's a sort of hospital, is it?
Yeah, it's be careful what I say. It's psychiatric type.
Oh, I see. So it's for the health of the prisoners, basically.
Because
Mentally
the
and
reason he was
physically.
explaining is that the prison officers aren't healthcare,
No, of course not.
and they were expected to look after prisoners with disturbed or whatever. And so that's why it is not just our prison; it's all the prisons.
Oh, I see, around the surrounding area.
Yeah.
So is that 36 beds or 36 cells? Or?
That's 36 people that look after. I think it's 200 people that are in that wing particularly.
Is that within the 570 prisoners? Or?
No, it's addition.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, actually, there's 1130. That's 560 is the prison officers. And there's 1133 prisoners. Inmates.
Thank you. Right.
Just one other thing, we talked about flowers. He's more than happy to give the flowers.
This is to the village, or the village hall, or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Good.
He's quite happy to have another open day for the councils if they want to go around. You can have a conducted tour around the prison. He's more than happy to offer that.
Is that just for councils or for the public as well?
For the councils first,
For the councils first.
because they've sort of, as of the 1st of April, there's a new law coming in the prison, so it's going to be even stricter there.
Oh, I see. So they don't want too many people wandering around.
Yeah, basically. There's at the moment between 10 and 12 prisoners a week released. That's going to drop on the 1st of April to between 2 and 3. And our prison is going to change slightly. It's going to be, appears to be more long-term people in there than short-term. He did say he wanted to get involved in the village more, and he was quite happy for us to have a meeting in his training places, if we so wished. However, he made it perfectly clear, and it's Serco policy, that he will not attend these meetings while they're being filmed, that they won't do that. So, consequently, he's saying he's more involvement.
You've got to go there.
Yeah, it is going to be limited.
Okay.
But any questions or whatever, as Linda's already got his email address.
Yeah. So the governor is really following the same regime as the other one, which is to be sort of open as they can be.
Yes, very much. Yeah.
Did the governor say anything about the timing of what prisoners are let out of the gate? That there is a bus there to take them away, because a number of villagers have said to me that they're being asked by villagers how to get to Uttoxeter and or wherever. Could there be some?
His exact comments to that question was that people who are just released, their first priority is to get home.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be lingering around.
No, but do they actually?
No,
there's no coordination.
No, there's no coordination. Basically, as soon as the gates are open,
they want to go.
They're free person.
Yeah.
So that they can make their own way.
The first publicly confined for doing.
Yeah. Well,
I know. I thought from a previous meeting they talked about providing a taxi to get to the train station.
Yeah.
That was the previous governor. Perhaps that was something that's not carried on.
The 1st of April, there is going to be huge changes, and he got a great watch, but it was still to be signed off by Serco, so there will be big change. That's why he's saying this, the number that's going to be released is dropping so drastically. And presumably if there's a fewer things like taxis, could be organised. I don't know, he didn't go into detail.
We'll have to wait to the next meeting for that.
Okay,
fair enough. Which more than one should attend.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
One final thing he was keen to share is, like the clubs that there are in the village. He was keen for his officers to get involved, or if we want to go into the prison, and he quoted Drama Club as an example. He says he has a very good, highly skilled drama club in there, and so if we want to go in, he's more than happy for people from the village to go in and get involved. And that there was religion and all sorts of things that go on in the prison. He was saying, to get more involved that way, feel free to contact him and he'd happily get involved.
Okay, fine. Right, thank you very much for that, Councillor Nixon. Right, land at Marchington Woodlands, which comes back to you again. Did you take any pretty pictures?
Yes, I have.
You have?
Okay. Keeping an eye on the scrap that's
accumulating. Coming on, moving on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is, it's rotating.
So we'll leave that one with you, with the land in the middle of the road. BMX skateboard. Excuse me. BMX skateboard. What do you say about that, sir?
Did anybody get in touch by the parish manager?
I just had one person commented, and all they said was that their children were too old. So they didn't have any comments, basically.
Fair
But
enough.
no one else has
Well,
commented.
no, I think then we shall that on.
Shall we? Okay. Okay, so that comes off the...
Oh, yeah, no, we've got some...
Hello, questions at the back?
Sorry?
Group here trying to raise something.
Well, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome,
You
sir.
didn't
Not at all.
notice.
Who's asking a question? Sorry.
I was just going to say, before you move on from the skateboard area,
Sure.
there's absolutely nothing in this village for teenagers. I
Right.
think we should try and do something for them.
Yeah, well, we have tried, I think, but...
But there was something in the parish magazine about phoning in or writing in. Not everybody reads the parish magazine.
No, of course not.
And I really do feel that we are wanting in this village for something for teenagers. When I moved here, my children were on aerial runways and things in the way.
Right,
But there's nothing at all.
yeah.
The playground there is for children up to about 10.
True.
When they get to that age, they've lost interest.
Well, I personally, I'm all for it. I've got nothing, really, I think you're right. But the thing is that if we can't get the enthusiasm from other residents, it's a bit difficult, isn't it, to some extent? Sorry.
I moved here when my girls were 13 and 15, and the last place they wanted to actually be was here. They wanted to be in Uttoxeter. They weren't actually interested in doing it.
That I should explain is because the Uttoxeter one is a very good one, isn't it?
Well, I don't mean necessarily
Oh, you didn't mean
I
you didn't mean the skate park?
They went to all sorts of things.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, there's another lady who wishes to speak.
Oh, yeah.
Would it be an idea for somebody to speak to the MSA? Because they obviously cater for the children up to sort of like 9, 10 years old. They'll have children that are going to be going to Oldfields or Windsor Park, who are going to be teenagers very soon, who are going to want to have something else in the village. So would it be an idea to include the MSA in discussions about any future
This
ideas?
is the Sports
then?
Council you're talking about?
No, this is the PTA. It's the
Oh, PTA, sorry.
Marchington Schools Association. So it's the
I
PTA.
can do that.
There you go.
Are you on the MSA?
My husband is.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like the man to talk to.
Okay, well I'll follow it up.
Okay. Okay. We're all done with that, aren't we? Yeah. Best Kept Village. We've won it several times. We came second last year, I think. And we'd like to have another bash at it again, so we'll confirm that, which you've done, I think. Moving on then to Marchington Village Hall Committee. Hello, Jean.
Hello.
You've got something to tell us?
Well, I think Andrew probably is the person to speak to regarding the doors. We're having those doors.
The doors and new windows should be installed in early March. There's also, we're also going to replace the inner doors in here, into the entrance as well. Both sets of doors will be DDA compliant. Last panel. And we have a grant from the SBC for the front doors, windows, but the inner doors we're going to fund from our funds and fundraising efforts.
Okay.
It's also proposed, if we are successful in getting another grant from the council, from the SBC, to actually refurbish the floor in there, which will brighten the room up and also make it better for dancing activities, exercise classes, etc., with emphasis on a non-slip surface.
Okay. That's it on the village hall? Okay, very good. Right, moving on to the neighbourhood plan. Oh, right. The steering group has have we got anybody from the steering group here? Yes, Darren, of course. Which has been a good turnout the last time, I think. And Clive Keeble was getting on with his site assessment as quickly as he can. And he's also had a meeting with the Staff's Wildlife Trust. Of course, we've had the meeting today of the conservation area, and this is going to be, as he was saying earlier on, to put into the characterisation meeting, which is to give a reason for the histrionics of Marchington itself. Right. Now, the emergency plan.
Right, just before you move on from that.
Sorry.
It might be sort of worth saying that obviously the neighbourhood plan and the ESBC local plan are together. So I think there's some hope that if the ESBC local plan did come forward, I mean it was delayed, I think the Borough Council are very keen to bring that forward at the date that the planning inspector said he would return to it, and I think there is some agreement there, obviously as long as they've got their piece into place. Do we get that sort of confirmation that the neighbourhood plan could follow quite quickly on,
I hope
behind
so.
that?
We're hoping for 6 months, I think.
Yes. It isn't actually stopping us moving on. We're going at the pace we expected to move on at the moment. It's just that obviously we don't know the final numbers of houses that we will be having in Marchington until the local plan is
in place.
In place,
That answer the point?
Yeah, no, I mean I think all the people would want that reassurance is that, you know, we are sort of in tandem with that, and as soon as we can move, obviously going through the milestones that you have to meet, that there will be in place to have our neighbourhood plan, which would be, you know, strengthen the village's hands somewhat.
Okay. Right, emergency plan. This is just in case somebody goes bang in the night, and we've not actually produced that emergency plan, although we've got there to some extent. We've sent an email to Mr. Reid, who is trying to do some training course details, and we forwarded it to councillors. Does anybody put their hand up for that one? No. Okay. Yeah.
We're focusing on
the trouble is that we've got a neighbourhood plan. We've got all this other work and also affecting planning with lots of builders wanting to build here. So we've got enough on our plate, I think, without doing an emergency plan as well. The flooding issues, which I'm moving on to 311 there, I think we've been well covered by Mr. Heapy. I don't think we need to talk about that anymore, do we? Or do we? We've done a response to Julian Blackmore, who asked a question about several things to do with the...
yeah, Tony very kindly did that.
So that's been dealt with, right? An email from David Hughes to Clive.
More or less the same
thing.
as what
Okay.
Tony's already told us.
Okay. Right, moving on to 312, which is a defibrillator in the village. Now, we never got very far with that, did we? What was
Well, we're going to have a meeting with you at some point.
with the village hall to decide where to
well,
put it?
we discussed it at the village hall committee, and basically it's a question of where do you want it, somewhere at the front, but it needs to be further away, not too near the front entrance. So step at the side, yeah. And then the next thing was to get a quote from the power supply.
Yeah. I'm sure never around and put it, yeah.
Yeah. So that's ongoing, is it? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we actually didn't decide where to put it because we weren't quite sure the width of it, the length of it, you know, the size.
Something like about 2 foot wide, 3 inches. About 9 inches deep.
2 foot wide.
2 foot wide.
9 inches deep.
Does it go into the cavity? Does it
just hang
no,
on the
it
wall?
stands on the wall.
But it's got to have power supply,
Power supply,
to it,
yeah.
isn't it?
Not to charge the batteries, just to keep it warm. Keep the batteries.
So will the parish
working.
council be paying for that? The power supply?
Would it be on the common consent? I would think so.
Yeah, I think we'd have to take responsibility for that one.
And what about ongoing bills?
well, they wouldn't be very high for heating a battery or two. Not a battery, it's to keep the thing warm. It wouldn't be
There
very.
isn't constant electricity.
I don't think it's terrible. We can talk about those high energy bills.
And not solar power.
No, I'm saying from a solar panel on roofs
Right, moving on, 313, which is Silver Lane, Bollard, which is, we have contacted by Fields in Trust and the SBC Sports England with Bollard. We were asked, is this the thing where we were asked to?
No.
So,
We've had 2 responses from residents about what you put in the
Chairman's report.
yes, you asked for people to come back to you.
Yes, we were asked to do that by ESBC's representative, weren't we? So we've actually put a message in the parish magazine saying if anybody wanted something different to the way that the Bollard is working at the moment, to write in and tell us. But we've had
2 responses.
And there are okay. Can I read out the name of this person? Yes.
That one, yes.
So this is from Gordon Marjoram. Have I pronounced that right? In response to Brian's request for opinions in the February magazine with regard to the Bollard, there's been a recent problem with travellers which unfortunately was resolved quickly and without a lot of cost or damage, and we may not be so lucky if they get on to the playing fields again. In our view, the installation of the Bollard was an appropriate and proportionate response to the previous incident. It would be very foolish to remove it or have it lowered for lengthy periods of time, even in daylight, when authorised users are not present.
Who wrote that?
No? Pardon?
Sorry, who wrote that? Is that like all of you?
Gordon
Put it in the
Marjoram, I did say
Marjoram.
Marjoram, sorry. My mispronunciation.
Who is that?
He lives next to the village hall here.
Oh,
It's a response to the question.
it's a villager, is
Is
it?
that right?
He lives next door to one village
Yeah,
hall.
people affected by the Bollards.
I've forgotten where I got to now. It would be very foolish to remove it or have it lowered for lengthy periods of time, even in daylight, when authorised users are not present. No one with proper reason to be there is not being denied access, yet there might be a little inconvenience to anyone wishing to take a car to the picnic area, but they only have to make an arrangement with the key holder who lives very local. This seems a small price to pay for the security of keeping out unwelcome visitors. Our children have long flown the nest. We make no comment whatsoever on the skate park or BMX track. That's that one. This one, doesn't like to give their name. Right. We live in Silver Lane, but because of our location, we're not troubled by cars parking on the road. For this reason, we are happy that the Bollard should remain to deter travellers, but we think that it is essential that adequate provision should be made by the football club on match days and practice days for the Bollard to be lowered early enough to avoid inconvenience to residents further down the lane. We fully understand their concerns and hope that an amicable solution can be found which will be acceptable to both them and the parish council. We would ask that our opinion is not to be reported by name at any council meeting, to retain our anonymity. I should explain that we have spoken to the sport club concerned, and they are doing their best to make sure that this Bollard is dropped well before anybody arrives for the matches.
So can I ask, what's the process if a visitor comes to and wants to drive down the park to go to the picnic area? What is the process that they have to do to get onto there to use that?
There's 4 key holders, 3 in Silver Lane.
Right, but how would a visitor that doesn't live here know that? What is there?
Well,
what do they do?
There's a notice with the phone number.
There's a big sign with a phone number.
Right, okay. Is there a phone to use if people haven't got access to a phone at the time?
No.
In fairness, the majority of people have got mobile phones themselves nowadays.
But not everybody has.
And I can't get a signal on my phone here, so maybe they don't get a signal down there as well.
The chances are they're not going to always use their phone and they don't have the key anyway, so they get in.
I must point out there is no playing field in the area which has that access. There's also a danger that you would have somebody who might just be looking for little children to take pictures of and whatever, which is against the law.
I don't see the relevance of your bollards and people taking pictures. You know, people
Well,
can't,
if you had access to
then they wouldn't need.
if you say you had access to right up to a playing field,
Vehicle access.
vehicle access.
There's
to a
always
playing
been
field.
access
It
there.
could be.
But vehicle or no vehicle, people can get out of their vehicles and go take pictures of
Yeah,
kids. That is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's an irrelevant point, to be honest.
Well, perhaps photographs is the wrong terminology, but what I'm trying to say is that there are very, if any, locally, which have this access, which you're asking about. So it's not just Marchington. That's the point I'm trying to make.
So that playing field hasn't had a bollard for many years. It was secured to prevent travellers getting on with a height barrier, which worked absolutely fine until they bolt propped the padlock. How many times I've gone through this, and I know everybody's bored of the issue. My concern is that people with disabilities who have a mobility vehicle who used to be able to park near those facilities are now having to make a phone call, have a carer with them to be able to go and retrieve the key or go and find a key holder.
They've got to have good vision to use the phone if they don't have that.
That is discrimination, because
But
if
we've
you
gone down that route, I'm afraid.
no, yes we have, and the Mr. Atherton agreed that the access is now worse for those user groups than it was before, and that makes the situation worse, and that is discrimination. For £220 we can secure that height barrier, which will prevent travellers getting on, and we drop the bollard in the morning, and there are enough people in the lane that are happy enough to drop the bollard in the mornings and lift it in the evenings, which would enable people with disabilities to be able to have access at any time.
So it's a small price to pay that
£220, and to allow myself and other people in the lane.
For 3 council
Yes,
meetings.
This is the fourth council meeting.
This is the 4th time that you've said exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
You've
The
been down
matter hasn't been resolved by the sound of it.
No, the
several
matter's not
different
been
avenues, and the time
Can we
and
have one
effort.
person speaking
Yeah,
at
but
a
you
time?
could just remove the bollard. Sorry, but I don't understand.
Excuse me,
Why
I'll allow you to
cannot.
speak if you actually asked to speak.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, all right.
May I-
It doesn't
may I-
mean
may I
so
interject?
you have to remove the bollard.
Ladies first.
Can I just explain the protocols of Parish Council meeting?
No, I don't want to.
You are, well, excuse me, this is not this meeting is to view, I'm just trying to be helpful. This meeting is to view the machinations of the Parish
How are
Council.
you being helpful?
I've got this being helpful. At the end of the
I
day,
don't understand what you're saying.
a Parish Council meeting is open to the members of the public. As you can video it, that the act that brought it in was for members of the public. At one time, all Parish Council meetings, up until Margaret Thatcher, were held in private. The idea was that people could come in and watch the Parish Council at
Maybe they
work.
didn't used to put bollards in.
Look, excuse me, well, it's pointless trying to explain it to you if you're not...
I'd like to pick up on that if I may be allowed to speak.
But could I just say, if Brian is, we're quite willing, or they are, I'm not Parish Council, I'm a Borough Council, I'm just trying to be helpful.
Okay.
If Brian indicates as the chairman that you can speak, then you speak.
Well, I'm hoping I might be able to just interject 2 points.
Just a second, who are you, please? Can I
I'm about to purchase a property in this area, although I'm actually having second thoughts now. But I'll explain that more in a minute.
Can I have your name? That's all I'm
Joe.
asking for. Joe. Joe what?
Joe Public.
Joe.
And it is my name.
Your name is public?
Yeah, it's my name.
Public to everybody.
Doesn't matter, I'm happy to give my name. But there's just 2 points that I'd like to raise. The first is, I heard you say, when this gentleman said, you know, we've had this discussion 3 meetings in a row, you quite clearly said you're bored with it. Well, that's irrelevant. It's
I
an
don't think
issue
it's a
that
question of
needs...
boring,
But
so
to
it's
say that you're bored with it is very, very condescending.
You did say that.
You did say that, but I want to move away from that. First of all, I think it's very rude that you say you're bored with the fact that this man has an issue with the Bollards. But second of all, I'd like to just bring up this point, which this gentleman here from the borough said that you know, this is how council meetings work. You know, we don't get to speak unless we're invited to. A parish council meeting should consist of a chairman. You're not the chairman. You're an acting chairman.
True.
So, am I not right in thinking that a parish council should consist of a chairman and parish councillors and shall have all such functions as are vested in the council by the Act and otherwise? So, if you're not a chairman, this is not a parish council meeting.
He's the acting chairman.
He's acting, but
in the stead of
the Local
chairman.
Government Act,
Oh,
sir,
please.
the Local Government Act 1972
You're being
says you
very
must have a
pedantic.
chairman. Now, again, this is by the by. If you want to make an argument over the legalities, then you can. But the fact is, you did say to this gentleman, and we're very bored with it. We're bored now. Well, we all get very bored. We all get very bored with subjects that go round in circles, but it doesn't solve the problem by just going, well, we're not going to address it.
You could offer to move the playground.
There are
build a new
options.
picnic area.
There are options.
We've skipping this, Chairman. I'm leaving.
Actually, you do now. You do now. What I'm trying to get at is there's obviously in the minutes of your meeting there's quite a lengthy bit about these bollards. Yeah. So really, when you're talking disabled access, first of all, I note that there are 5 or 6 people with keys.
Yeah, but you can get
Are the 5 or 6 telephone numbers listed? Is there a rota in place for someone to be on duty at all times? These are very pertinent questions to someone less able than yourself. There are disabled people here. You should be accommodating them, sir.
If I was coming out for a day on my own, I wouldn't be able to.
Excuse me, we both had our arms up for quite a while wishing to speak. You haven't
I think that's fair enough. Please.
permission to speak as yet.
Mr Chairman, may I speak?
Yes, you do. I do. Oh, yes, you do.
I do not need permission.
Yes, you do.
In may your opinion, you may think so, but I do not need permission to speak.
Chairman,
First and foremost,
Can I ask you to speak, please?
first and foremost,
He's not an acting chair.
I am a resident of the village, not a long-standing one, nearly 4 years. But I have seen some changes in the village over that 4 years. I don't belong to a clique, and I do not have a hidden agenda. Let me make that clear. However, I am aware that council meetings can be filmed and whatever. And that's the law. The Act was brought in and I've checked it out. However, I feel uncomfortable speaking with all these cameras. And I too have my rights.
Indeed you do, and they should be asking if they can actually do that.
And yes, exactly so. However, under Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, I have a right to privacy.
Right.
And I don't
Not in public.
agree.
In public law.
In public, yes I do.
You're in public law.
Yes.
Yeah, somewhere else.
In Article 8, I have a right to my privacy. As an individual...
It's your responsibility to make yourself private then.
No, that's
No,
not.
Where
it's
else
not.
is somewhere?
You can't make permission. Now, I'm not a specialist in European law.
You are correct.
My specialism is disability, believe it or not. Yes.
Well, we'll get something sorted with these bollards.
But the point I would like to make tonight is that the volume of traffic going in and out of the village has increased dramatically. I go out in the mornings, if I'm out early, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I follow prison officers coming through the village and going into the prison. Some of them have music blaring, and on my return home, if I come in from the A50 and through Draycott, I often come along that road and I see prison officers coming out with 2 or 3 in a car and turning right and going through the village. So I would like for you and your body to please ask questions of both the police and the governor at the prison.
I should explain that there was a voucher system set up in which would allow a certain amount of...
I'm aware of it.
Oh, you are?
I have done my homework.
However, this is limited to a number of cars, as you can imagine.
It is.
The advice... Yes, please.
The prison governor, the 60% of the officers come from Derby. They get a grant by having more than one person in the car.
I understand that.
The prison has absolutely no authority if somebody's been released and they decide to come out of prison.
No, that's not my point. I'm not talking about prisoners who are released.
No,
I am talking about
you-
prison officers who come out of the car park and turn right, which is against the law.
The time of the shifts are such that 8 in the morning,
yes,
there's no, and 2 in the afternoon, I think was the other one.
Yes.
Those are the only two
Yes.
times it was night time. Right, so what he's done, he's staggered these
Yeah.
to have lesser traffic over a period of time.
I understand
He's
that.
completely aware, because this matter has been raised again and again and again at our meeting. We will gladly raise it again with him. He's very, very accommodating.
I actually raised it with him when I was in the
Yeah,
prison visiting
yeah.
before Christmas.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
He's a very
he's
approachable
aware-
chap.
He is very approachable. So he
However,
knows
the
that.
parish council are here for a reason,
Mhm.
and I'm a resident, and I would like my concerns to be passed on to the
Okay.
appropriate body.
We can do that, I think.
What we do ask people is that if you do see them and you are in the position to give us their registration numbers and the time and the day, then we can then report it to ESBC enforcement as well as the prison, and they will take the matter up on our behalf. So if you are in a position to take the registration numbers, the time and the date, and pass them on to me as the parish clerk, then we can do something about it.
I will
It also applies to the prisoners' vans as well, if you see that.
Yes, the prison vans as well.
No, I haven't. I honestly haven't seen that happen with prison
Yeah,
vans.
We do
sometimes
occasionally.
have them come through.
But
Can I just say that
certainly yes.
I have seen a prisoner's van come through the village,
So,
and I did take it on my own back to phone them up.
Good.
And since that time, I've not seen any.
Yeah.
So they
I've
do
not
respond,
seen
which is quite
There is a traffic scheme that was set up at the beginning, wasn't there, Robert? And ESBC can enforce that if necessary. So if you can, if you could, or anyone, if you...
Yeah, I will.
The more information we can give you,
The better,
more it does.
of course.
is that your main points?
That's my main point.
So, do you wish to proceed any further? Or?
No, I'd like to thank the people who have turned off their cameras. Apart from it having an effect on my privacy, it's
Quite
also
a-
discourteous not to question me as to whether they encourage continue with that.
Okay, Madam, would you like to stand up and just... Oh, sorry.
Can I also ask that the cameras are turned off, because I really don't want to be filmed. Yes, I can ask for the cameras to be turned off.
Yes, that's privacy. If your family's around you,
Let's put it like this. Let me give you the reason. I don't subscribe to Facebook or YouTube, and I strongly object to going out on any of these programs on these computers. That's my privacy, and I'm requesting.
Nobody's filming you.
But it's not on the council agenda.
Excuse me, could we address the chair?
Is there a chair?
Mr.
I'm
Chair,
under the impression he's an
I'd like
acting chair.
to add my comments to the previous comments about the amount of traffic. It has increased considerably in the last 12 months. Since we've had the chicane, that's almost made the problem worse. People come down Hound Hill so fast that they're on the wrong side of the road so they can get round. I've had to mount the verge twice to avoid a bad accident. It comes round the bend near me and twice has just nearly missed hitting a car parked opposite our gate. Is there any way we could perhaps have a mobile, your speed is for a short time or something, just to see if that slows people down, anything like that? There's an accident waiting to happen in the village at the moment.
I think that's a Staffordshire County Council thing, though, is it?
Staffordshire Highways.
Staffordshire Highways. Yes, we can do. Yeah.
Right. And, I think this is all relevant to any future planning applications as well, the volume of traffic I think you'll agree with me, won't you, Tony? At our end of the village is horrendous now.
Yeah, I have gone in that direction towards the prison, and some of the people do come down, considering it's a terribly narrow little way.
Yes, quite.
Too quick, and of course there's no way for them to stop.
And there's no way they can stop.
That's right.
They're just driving too fast.
There are also two sort of blind.
Yeah.
What is there no way there can be a speed restriction all the way down from Hound Hill?
We have tried that, and it's.
It's a 40 mile an hour limit down there.
Yeah.
So as you come to 6 lane ends from the yellow lines across the road.
When it's certain road now, though,
if we could ask to have the white lines raised.
That's right.
So it rattles your car as you go faster.
I think that's a bit unfair on the people living there because it's such an enclosed area just there, isn't it?
It was just some way to
But I think, you know, personally, when I'm driving, if I drive through one of those you are driving your speed is, it does have that shock system, so even if we could do that as a temporary measure sometime.
Well, try and ask for some suggestions to slow traffic down, coming down Hounds Hill. I think that's what you're after.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Miller, you want to say something?
Mr. Chairman,
I'll have to go anyway, excuse me.
when this prison first came to the village, the thought was that traffic from the prison would not be allowed to travel through the village.
That's correct. Yeah. Well,
has that been changed? Has it been rescinded, or have they just forgotten about it? That was a definite thing. That they assured the village that traffic wouldn't come through. And if my memory serves me right, it's a long time since I've been on the bus to Burton, but the bus goes into the prison, and I think when it comes out again, there's a no right turn, which means that they're going against the traffic sign.
Just to give you there was Section 106 agreement, and there was a green travel plan.
Yeah.
But basically, the green travel plan is up to the prison to encourage and get people to do. There are elements of it that are directly enforceable, suppliers, and the prison van should follow that route. But then when you go down to the individual, with regards to cars, if they pay the car tax, then in real terms they can travel on the public highway. So therefore, it's a question of the prison writing into their own rules and enforcing that. I mean, that's basically how it works.
Yeah.
You have a question, sir?
Yeah. Is the parish council aware of what's called a speed watch campaign run by police? Normally, parish council.
You're referring to where councils or
anywhere in the village that you might have concerns about speedy drivers.
The trouble is that the particular road that lady was talking about is the fact that it's narrow, it's coming down, and it is a 40 mile an hour limit. Crazy as it seems, because if you went up and down it, you'd see that to be honest, it's not easy to go up there slowly, never mind come down fast, but they do. And I think it's because the road starts off from the prison is extremely wide and narrows, and then goes down and round a dip. So that's the problem. So it's in a 40 mile limit, and we've tried to alter it to 30. But yes, I mean, we could try that perhaps.
So are they driving in excess of 40 miles an hour, do you think?
Sorry?
Are the people driving in excess of 40 miles an hour? Or is it just because if they drove at 30 or 25?
Well, if they drove down it at 30 miles an hour, it would help, to be honest, but they don't. They do drive. It's falling ground, very fast falling ground. So the thing, and I think, I don't know why it is, but if you go down to Devon or Cornwall, people seem to think they're only people on the road, and they're very narrow roads. And it can be quite dangerous down there, but the thing is, no, of course not. But I'm just making the point that country roads, you need a bit of caution. So, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I thought it may be an appropriate time just to raise the point with the A50 being realigned at your Toxteth and the flyovers. It's highly likely that when there's any hold-ups, crashes on the A50, HGVs come through the village. Can the county highways be approached to ask for appropriate signs to try and stop HGVs coming through the village?
As I understand it, there's a limit on weight through the village.
Yeah, but once they're at the D&P, then they can't go back, can they? They need to be stopped before.
515 and 5017.
So you would like to see proposing
I would like to ask
notices?
that the county council provide some means, ways and means of preventing, prohibiting HGVs from coming through the village,
Right.
using it as a shortcut,
Yeah.
which is what they do.
Okay. Well, there's actually a stop. I mean,
You know, if there's a hold up,
Yeah.
then they'll
Yeah.
come down a 515 and then
I think
through-
they're breaking the
through
law
to-
actually to come over the bridge, aren't they? Isn't there a weight limit on that?
there is. Yes.
Weight limit applies from the 515.
Thank you.
Sorry, Robert, you
Brian, I did talk to the parish council. I did write in my capacity as borough councillor following the unfortunate incident on the A50 where all the traffic was piled virtually back into Uttoxeter. Part of that was to seek assurance because there was, I think I read in the Greater Parish Council minutes that the intended route for when they were going to work on not Part A but the Part B section was that when work went on over the weekend, the traffic might be diverted along the B5017, and my view was that they should seek a solution to keep the traffic on the A50, and I've been assured that that is what they're going to do. As a flip on that, I did say, look, you know, when you are putting a diversion in order, and I mean, I think everybody here accepts that if there's a major incident on the A50, then, you know, unfortunately 5017 is the road that can be used. But I did request that they considered, when they put out the signage, to actually put some extra signage on the roads. Now, I haven't had a direct response back there, but they are looking into that, and I'll follow that up again.
Thank you.
perhaps we could bring that point home to our county councillor, Mr. Atkins, I think.
Last time when the diversion took place, a lot of the traffic was coming down Moisty Lane, so that they didn't get stuck at the roundabout at the bottom of 5017, because they had precedents over. So there were 3 long tailbacks in Moisty Lane, and backwards and forwards, a single track lane.
It is.
There were three
Lorries coming
large,
up both ways, and backwards and forwards, turning around.
yeah, 3 large lorries went up Moisty Lane, got stuck on the corner
Yeah,
of
it was absolute chaos.
Station Road.
There's a request to extend. Can you
I
imagine?
think a lot of these is to do with sat nav. They
No,
can't fit the short.
most of the lorries are doing it to avoid getting stuck in the
No,
queue of
but they
traffic.
can't fit to the sat nav. The
I live
quickest
on Moisty
route-
Lane, no, it doesn't take you that way.
But if they say one road is short, the sat nav will look for
No,
another.
it takes to 2 kilometres. It never puts on Moisty Road,
Yeah.
never does. No matter how many times you ask.
You wish to speak, sir?
Just one more time, so I just want to hopefully get a comment from you at the end, and then that'll be the end of it. As I've made clear, I'm looking to buy a property in this area, and I'm looking at 2 already. Now, my mother had a stroke 3 years ago, and she's quite severely disabled. Now, I've been down to that playing field, and unlike my friend here, I can't get a signal on my phone. Now, the reason I'm bringing it up is because if I take my mother to that park and I can't get a signal on my phone, how do I get my mother down through there?
Well, we could possibly take a proposal from you. What do you think we should
Well,
do?
actually, I would defer the option to give you a proposal to this gentleman here, because he knows an awful lot more about it than I do. I am new to the area, there's no lie there. But I do have concerns that there is discrimination against disabled, whether it's willingly or unwillingly, simply because there is a dead spot down there for mobile phones. And when you have disabled access, you either must implement a rota that is adhered to, so when someone does manage to phone, if they can get a phone signal, someone will come and lower the barrier. However, that's not the best solution, because there does seem to be a bit of a dead spot for mobile phones down there. Is it something that the council will now recognise this gentleman's issue, and rather than be bored with it, address it over the next couple of weeks?
What I was trying to say there was we discussed this in such a lengthy way. We've had, this is the 4th meeting it's been coming up to council. We've had several, how many meetings is it down at Silver Lane? 1 or 2?
We were met once.
We've been down there and we discussed it with from a disabled point of view, the representative from the Borough Council, who said that in his view all we could do is ask whether other people felt the same way as...
Could they not be replaced with fob? You know, the electronic drop-down ones, so that there is a way to...
You'd still need a fob though, that's the problem.
Yeah, I'm clutching at straws because obviously I don't know the answer, but I would expect the local council to...
Perhaps it would be a good idea to put up the addresses where people could get the key from. Maybe
I think so, yes.
The problem is
Could
you've
people
got...
request a key? Sorry.
Or, yeah, regular frequenting visitors maybe be given a key once they are established in the community.
No, that would defeat the object, I think, because they're obviously...
Well, they wouldn't let the travellers in, that's for sure.
I can't deduce what would happen if you gave out too many keys.
But you will recognise that it is an issue and does need to be looked at. It's not something that can just be, oh well, you know, we'll leave it. Because I am moving here with my mother, and I do have disabled issues, and this is something I have been looking at. That's why I've specifically come to this meeting tonight, because I want to see how proactive you guys are in dealing with it. If many of you had your abilities taken away from you, I'm quite sure the boot would be on the other foot and we'd be working furiously to fix the problem.
Re-telephone. I have no problem using my telephone down there, so change your telephone.
No,
I don't stupid. What a stupid answer that is.
Yeah. What service are you on, sir?
O2.
Everybody Problem solved.
Problem solved.
What do you like to say something? Excuse me.
Who?
Yeah, we'll all do that.
I am changing anyway because they're rubbish.
Sorry?
When we met Councillor Nixon and I in Silver Lane, the local access officer confirmed that access is now worse for certain user groups, and he recommended that the parish council get the views of local user groups and the emergency services as to their views. And as far as I know, all you've done is put in the parish magazine requests for people to make comments. Have you proactively contacted any disabled user groups and the emergency service?
Well, the point is excuse me, these playing fields, playgrounds, are primarily for the residents of the village, and they're not.
And for any of
Public
those
access areas, sir.
anybody going through it's public.
Please don't shout out. It's not necessary. If you put your hand up, I'll let you speak. Easy.
They are public access areas.
Excuse me, sorry, could I just make a suggestion then? As Mr Lansing said, why don't we draw this particular conversation to a close so we can move things on? And in the meantime, as a parish council, you can now go and speak to all the different access groups or anyone else that you may want to put forward in an email to the clerk.
Yes, I can do that.
Exactly, and then you can contact people and maybe, not next meeting, but maybe the meeting after.
Thank you.
To give people proper time to respond, so
Excellent.
at least then we can stop talking about this.
I agree.
Very sensible. Very sensible.
Can I just ask, what's your name and address put up on some notice?
On the front of the building and in the parish magazine,
Did
yes.
you approve that? Did
No,
you give
no,
permission for
no.
that? So when we've got other people in here that wish to talk about their privacy and their right to anonymity, as a letter that you've had sent, they wanted to remain anonymous, which is their right. Did anybody have the respect of this gentleman here to not publish his home address and his name?
It's pretty low, man. Yeah. Pretty low.
His data, there are such things as data protection. This is putting his name up without his permission, not even the decency or courtesy to ask if you had his permission. Can you explain that, please?
How would you like to respond, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
You won't.
This is...
Well, it says it
It's because you cannot give a response to something that's a dreadful thing to do.
I'm sorry, I'm closing the discussion now. I think
Because you don't like the answers.
I'd like to make a motion then, if you don't want to discuss the issue, then I would invite you to abandon the meeting.
I don't think we wish to do that.
Well, address the issue, sir.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
I'm the chairman to try to control
You're a facilitator, sir. You, as a chairman, you facilitate the meeting. You do not order people, right? Address the issue.
I think all we're asking for is an explanation why you published this man's details. Was it to humiliate him?
Excuse me. What would you like to do?
Who are you, Captain Birdseye?
That's all. That's enough. That's enough.
I'm not sure what I've been so much. I don't understand the argument.
Answer the question!
Excuse me. Can we have silence, please? Can we carry on?
Respect.
Can we carry on,
Answer the
please?
question.
Can we carry on, please?
I want to do that, just so we can get on with the meeting. We'd like to go to bed.
Just like to carry the meeting on,
And I
please.
didn't quite understand the
I was having a
argument.
conversation, but you weren't
How many
involved in it.
discussions are we having here?
Well, quite a few at the moment, but the moment you explain to us why you published this man's details, his telephone number, his address, his name, and his photo on the front of the village hall, then we can move forward. But you don't want to answer that question.
Mr. Langston,
because
are
it's
you
not
objecting to using your name?
Sorry?
Are you objecting to using your name? Is it
I'd like to have a discussion with you at some stage about the repulsive article that you published in the magazine and on the front. My article was not at all personal. You, as a group of councillors, targeted me as an
I agree
individual.
with you, Steve. We've had a number of discussions and we've been as far as
I do want to discuss this with you at
Yes,
some
fine.
stage.
And I think that's a good
As
idea.
a group.
And as far as I'm concerned, our conversations have been very, very calm and very civilised. So I'd like to continue that way, if I may. So if I'd like permitted to get on with the meeting, please.
Can I just request that that lady's suggestion regarding the disability
Yes, I've taken that on board.
If you can agree to that, and I'll make some suggestions who you should contact.
I'll take that on board, okay.
And
Yeah, I agree with
if they say that yes, the access is worse now for those user groups, we can resolve the issue in this.
You're asking for their response, aren't you?
I'm asking for if they
So
respond.
you are going to come to me, tell me what response you want from whom, is that right?
No, the user groups are.
The user groups.
I'll just let, like the lady
Yes,
suggested.
so we're talking about user groups that you're going to discuss with me and you're going to ask for their opinion.
I'll do a bit of research, find out some disability.
Your details at the end, so I
Yeah.
can forward some.
So we've made a note of that.
I can't wait to move.
Okay. Fair enough.
And then hopefully we can resolve the Bollard issue once and for all, which would be wonderful.
Right, okay, well that's answer that one then. So we'll do that, Mr. Langston.
Move on to the next item on the agenda.
Right, so moving on to Forrest Side, footpaths and garage area, which is to do with the garage area which is breaking up concrete and whatever, and of course, as we know, nobody wants to really take responsibility. So we've got an email from Andrew Griffiths, the local MP, which is to say that he's, where is it?
He's written to the Burgess and Son,
These are the solicitors.
solicitors for the
Okay. Right, basically what we're saying is Andrew Griffiths has written to them asking that again, that because the parish council felt unable to pursue the matter further, they've now asked me to revisit the issue, that's the MP, and to any further problems with the land in question. And he's asking whether the position remains the same as outlined in the letter of the 16th of November 2012, and we've done that, I think. So we're waiting for more information, basically, from Andrew Griffiths. The next, I think, is planning, is it not?
well, just from last month's correspondence between a Manigal, the connectivity
Oh, yes, connect, yeah.
for the broadband is coming to attend our meeting on the 10th of March. So
Right, well, within correspondence, we have the next the meeting, which might be of interest to anybody who lives in the Woodlands or is receiving poor broadband, that we've got a lady called Katrina Manigold, who's a connectivity officer, who's going to come and tell us... Sorry? Staffordshire County Council, who's then going to tell us how things are going along with broadband, because there are some rural parts of the area which are not receiving quite as good a standard as they expected when broadband was brought in. So that might be of interest to anybody who's got that problem, I think.
I can't hear you, sorry.
That's not.
Why did you say?
Sorry, are you alright?
About the Whitby Gate.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Knee issues, so I can't feel my way out.
Whitby Gate with the
I did you say I was just saying almost said my mum was disabled.
There's also a question of a wicker gate.
Did you talk up? I can't hear you.
Right, there is a wicker gate to footpath 4647, which I think you were interested in footpath. And the clerk requested confirmation that an offer to pay for this gate will be replaced, and we confirmed that we will pay for this wicker gate on a one-off basis, and that's being done, and we've asked the owner to look into it and let us know the cost.
And then the grip bins have been filled.
They have.
They've all been filled.
You did make a point about the grip bins, I think, from Woodlands,
Yes,
and they have been filled.
They've been done. The ones in the Woodlands have been as well.
Yep.
Good.
So they've also been done in the village, so that's one thing there. A light in Hall Lane, Mr. Mann says there isn't one.
There wasn't, it was repaired. It is working this evening. There is a night when it doesn't, but it's working more often than it's not.
Oh, I see, so we reported that though anyway. That was
Yes,
reported on the
there
16th of
was
June.
some action.
New signpost in Windmill Drive, which is also your remit, I think.
No, it's the stanchions that hold it. I don't believe that's been done.
That hasn't
It's
been
been
done. Reported again on 16th of June.
Chase
January.
the cutting back of the hedge on Silver Lane as well.
Silver Lane, the hedge has not been cut back. This is Mrs. Grimley, I take it, is it?
She requested
Yeah,
it.
and that's been chased up with the SPC, I think.
Staffordshire
County Council, beg your pardon.
We go on to planning now. That was the movement things that put that down there. That's the green one. That's the first one.
Right, on planning, town and country, we've got an erection of a single-storey front extension and erection of a detached garage at Brick Hill Cottage, Birch Cross.
The cottages, yes, but they want to put.
Is this the one with the garage they want to put inside? No.
Yeah, they want to put it at the front.
Yeah.
No, it's
No,
not a
it's-
garage, it's a container.
It's a container, you know, one of these big shipping containers.
Yes, it's not yeah.
That appears, according to these drawings, to won't be there. I was asked to go and look at the turning space. Actually, they do have 2 cars they can park in the front already. So providing they can drive out, drive in, I don't see a problem with it really.
No, I think it's okay.
So I've got no comment to make, but I'm sure all you gentlemen may have. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg your pardon.
Are they looking to replace the container with a garage?
I hope so.
I think the container is there during the construction phase.
Yeah.
It's a very long container.
Yeah.
And they want to put a porch along the front.
Yeah.
Shall I continue with the next one, or would you like to? Yeah. The next item is a planning request to do a screening report or scoping report. Well, I never understand that scoping, but anyway.
We've already responded on that one.
And they're going to be doing that, I think.
I don't know, we don't know what the result of it is.
No. Anyway, there's to be one which is to do with the solar park, I think, isn't it?
Yes, that's the solar farm.
Which is the third one. I seem to be getting
No, I think the issue on that one is the fact that if it is along down Green Lane, if it's on flood zone 3, and whether or not putting those structures on there will impede the flow. I think that's the thing. And the second issue was there's a public footpath going through that site and how that was going to be dealt with in the plan application.
Because
So I'm rather, no, I've asked the Borough Council to, ask for a street opinion because for those two issues.
Can we do the same?
I think that area actually is also on this left to well area.
Personally, I think we've got too many. This is the third one, isn't it?
Well, I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is where you put them. I think they want it to be a problem.
To the landowners. Sorry, not to the landowners, but to the actual companies. Yeah. Right. Thank you. Right, this is for James House, Jack's Lane, which is one of these houses which is within the Marchington Conservation Area. And they want to build a single-storey rear extension to it. Which, on the surface of it, doesn't seem much wrong with it, but it sounds like... Would you like to look at that one?
I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it? You've looked at it all?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
We've all seen it. I don't think it, because he said there won't be any more cars on the road, the access will be the same, so...
Right, this is one that's just come in, which I think really is an agricultural thing, isn't it?
Mrs Matthews is with us now, don't you? Oh, that one,
Yeah.
that one first.
So this is only came in today, but basically it's an existing, or an addition to an existing barn, really. I can't see that we can...
Where's it at,
Sorry, this is in Moisty Lane, it's Woodford Park Farm. Is that near to you now?
No.
No, it's further away. It's erection and extension to existing agricultural building.
That's okay then. I know what you mean, yes, it's right down there. You can't see it.
I mean,
It'll be behind, yeah, it'll be behind.
It's,
Languages.
that's the one that you had this morning.
Oh, that's the view, that's languages one, yeah.
Yes, it's Woodford Farm.
Yeah.
Woodford
It's
Park Farm.
Southwold, that's whose it is.
Yeah, behind languages.
So it's a site extension of the...
In an agricultural zone.
That's going to east then. Oh, that will be seen off the road, won't it? Well done, well done. It's not on the road, it's behind it. Oh, the one from the corner.
The Riddings farm has the same complications as the blacksmiths.
Really? What, to access? Tom, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for coming.
It's outside the area. I've got to drive my car. So I thought that initially the remarks they made about the blacksmiths seemed to apply very much to the Riddings farm.
This is the access and parking and so on. Okay.
Yeah, Matthews might want to say.
About Riddings Farm, the only reason really that we put in for planning for that is because we separated off the fields, so they're safe, they'll just be fields. But because the scaffolding firm ran it before, it's got industrial planning permission. And because we're an engineering firm and bought it, as long as we own it, the planning permission isn't going to lapse.
Are we talking about this agricultural?
No. Oh, sorry, I thought you
Talking about Gordon.
he asked about Riddings, sorry, he asked.
Gordon set up on it.
Oh, I see. Sorry, you brought it up. Okay. So are we all satisfied with those? With no comments? Or? No, okay. So we've got one here, which is, I take it from Mrs. Cliff? Is it?
Matthews.
What have I got here? Mr. and Mrs. Cliff?
It's Cliff Matthews.
Oh, they haven't put that. Oh, yes, they have. Over the side. Sorry. Right. The thing is that that's a question of building 6 houses, yeah?
Well, however few we can get away with, to be honest, because we need to get it removed from being industrial.
Right.
Because we will have to sell it eventually. And at the moment, they can stick cranes or anything on it. Or go back to doing what they did, the 18 lorries going in and out. Because the industrial planning stands for 3 years after we sell it.
Oh, I see.
Which is why, because we are an engineering firm, so the industrial planning has been goes on proposal. Which is why we want to change its use, fundamentally. Because otherwise, someone will buy it, and God knows what they'll do with it. I mean, there were enough problem before, and that was limited. I mean, we have had 3 offers, one of which is for tannery. We have had 3 offers for the industrial part, one of which is a tannery.
Tannery, oh, maybe it's smelly.
It will stink.
Yeah.
Obviously, I
So-
mean, the Woodland Trust have been in touch with us to improve the woodland that they wrecked, because we've taken all the rubbish up of that now, so that needs re-diversifying. So that's sorted. And we'll probably make a field into wildfowl, but the problem with the industrial site still is going to exist until something is done with it. It can't go back to farmland because of what they were using it for.
Pre-use, okay. I don't know, I personally don't have any comment on it.
I have no objection, I just thought, it struck me that the same comments that apply to blacksmiths might apply to there.
Because of the,
Yeah.
yeah, although the blacksmith is a main road really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The, whatever it is.
But this is a single track road to the site. But however, as Mrs. Matthews says, previously it had a scaffolding business which had
That's right.
Well, so I
time division for
spoke
18 lorries.
to the planners,
Yeah.
and they had clearance for 18 lorries, plus their staff, which was presumably 10 to 16 staff cars, plus 4 family cars.
That'll be the basis of your...
And to be honest, there's only going to be, at the most, half the cars involved.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
they
the
had
basis.
said, because of the race course, that road has a higher grading than it should for single track anyway.
Okay.
There's already 2 entrances in and out, so we could design it on a loop, like a U-loop. And basically, we've got the lot. We think they said we can have your lot. It looks like they're going to but really, we need to know what you want us to put there. Because we've not done it before, so we're doing it again.
Houses rather than a tannery.
I think we've got no comment on it, Madam, really, except to perhaps bring that point about your previous industrial use to the attention of the
I mean,
ESPC.
it was
And
ridiculous.
that you've already got it, so I think that's anything we can do for it from that point of view.
Because we will have to ultimately
Or
sell
against
it. We can't tie the money up forever. We can afford to keep the land just as it is. But the industrial block will have to get sold on at some point, and we don't want to sell it off to someone that's going to put a factory on, well, some form of factory.
So there will be some area of land that will be,
All the
would be
field.
granted for allotments.
Well, it looks like yes. They rang me today to ask how many I was planning, and I said just about 2 acres at most, and they didn't seem to object to that. Especially as the field that put it in actually has a gate approved to go in.
I think the best thing we can do is to leave that to the planning. I think any further conversation on it is a bit pointless because we're not making any comment to it either way, so...
Well, it was really, I'd like to know what people really wanted there.
Okay.
Because
that's
so far
something
people,
that can
no,
be-
I know, but I wondered if the only way that you might be able to get the information, because just asking people is hopeless. One person says one thing, one person says another.
Well, that's people, isn't it?
I'm sure you're well aware of.
Is that not something that will come forward with the neighbourhood plan site assessment?
Well, I mean, Chris came out, but what he suggested the council don't like because there's too many cars, which is too many smaller houses. The council didn't like that. The planner said that would be too many cars involved, and because there's no bus, because there's no bus on the lane. Pardon?
They didn't think much of 2-bedroom bungalows.
They don't want bungalows because they would be bought by primarily old people, and it's not A suitable location, have an isolated group of old people, too vulnerable.
Pardon?
Okay.
That'll probably still be industrial use.
So we'll dispense with that particular, and good luck with it. Has this been passed? Was it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just to say that the erection of a single-storey extension with a flat roof, Gordon, it's been passed. Flat roof and off. So that concludes that one.
This one is the correspondence, which is the trade waste.
We'll all be delighted to know that if we want our litter bins emptied and wheelie bins at the following locations: Silver Lane, Marchington, Didcot Drive, Draycott in the Clay, Forrest Side, Draycott in the Clay. It'll cost us £279 per quarter.
Right.
Is that agreed?
Yes.
Yes, we should. Okay. Right. And I see you've signed it already. So you've moved with the times. In front of them. Right.
Paying for the house.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to go over 10.
No, I can quite understand that. Go and read it, these are some detail. Right. Well, the monthly accounts, the interest received from the bank were so generous, giving us £10.31. Invoices paid out, that's money, invoices that we received and money paid out, is neighbourhood plan work is £1,158.70p. Redwood Tree Solutions, Forrest Side conifer damage, which is on the football field, was £200. Our handyman, Mr Hall, was £131.35. Linda Hoptross salary and overtime is £586.10p. Travel and office expenses £82.97. Revenue and customs £69.80. And the Staffordshire Wildlife Trust Staffordshire Ecological Record £180, and that's for the neighbourhood plan process. Amount available in the bank before deducting the above expenditure was £40,694.12p, and that was before, of course, the amount I just read out. Right.
Oh, I need a proposal.
There's now a proposer and a seconder for those accounts I just read out to you.
I'll second.
What do you we have received a letter from William Davis, which is the company that has some emerging development proposals for land at Jacks Lane.
The same which has been discussed, isn't it, already?
It's already been discussed, but we haven't heard any more from that, so I can't really say no more. We just received a letter from William Davis. Mr. Wishes to look at it.
Mr. Chairman, as you mentioned that, is it possible that we could just ask a few questions regarding what the parish council's view is and what they may be doing? Firstly, I'd just like to mention when this proposal came in regarding William Davis' development, an action group was formed, Marchington Development Action Group, not just for this proposal, but really because of many that are in the pipeline within Marchington area, so that it will be a continuous group to look at any proposals that are coming through. However, as this is the first one that's reared its head, we would just like to know what the Parish Council has done so far and what they propose to do in the near future as regarding this proposed development. We know there's no planning application being put forward, but if we don't do something in advance of that, the whole proposal is totally out of character with the area. We have heard what is being said regarding the conservation area, but I think efforts have to be made, not just by the action group, but by the Parish Council as well, to work in tandem or coordinate, so that we do get the strongest opinion forward to the planet, to East Staff's planners, to object to what is being put forward.
Well, what we've done to date is we've acknowledged the letter, obviously, and then we've passed the letter on to our neighbourhood plan steering group, who are undergoing site assessment under the neighbourhood plan heading. Clive, you saw tonight, is helping us with that, and that's what we've done up to now.
I think, unfortunately, it doesn't bear any weight with the planning. As far as East Staff's planning are concerned, obviously the further the neighbourhood plan is forward, the better, but they are inclined to possibly ignore it if it hasn't been adopted or finalised. And we're in a difficult situation where developers are just going in under the radar to put as many developments in anywhere that they can.
Well, that's partly true. The thing is that, could you,
right, really
I mean, we can't really do much here with this letter apart from acknowledge it, can we? Well, we can't, until we actually see an application, or am I wrong?
Well, I think there are things that you can raise concerns with the Borough Council and with the planners in advance of that. Obviously, from the point of view of the action group, I think, I don't know whether they've got that now, but obviously there's information held in the village with the flooding group on Severn Trent, and it's been difficult to get that information. Do you have that information?
Sorry,
the flooding group, have you had that information? No. So I think the Parish Council could ask for the current contact Severn Trent, Environment Agency and Staffordshire County Council. We could get those for the action group, that might be useful.
I have written individually to the SBC planning as well.
Yeah.
Advised that the planning application hasn't gone in, but we'll have to write again when it does come in. But at least to warn them and give the rationale of being happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy with this proposal. It can be actually requested as an application.
Have you got any idea what you would like us to do on your behalf?
Well, for the proposal that's been put forward by the builders, outright objection.
It's just a sketch, isn't it?
Well, what we could do...
Well, unless you feel that it's an appropriate development in the village.
I mean, it's not an appropriate development in the form that's been put forward.
To the SBC simply stating that we're disappointed that this is even being considered before neighbourhood plan or local plans have actually been put in place, and that at the moment the point from Mr. Heapy is that the drainage simply won't take it, and that we should request that they put off any plans until such time as when the drainage can be contain the amount of surplus water and sewage.
Is this a letter you're proposing to William Davis?
No,
No, to the SPC. We've answered William Davis, we've acknowledged it and said thank you for your comments, and that we've done that. But the thing is, it's a question of what we do about.
I think the parish council would sort
I think I think it's about the best we can do, because otherwise, if we just say that we are concerned about the flooding issue, until that's done and complete, we feel that they should.
I think the worry is that as well, if an outline application they put in and that went through, that opens the floodgates for that development. Whereas if we can only ask if these staff's planners, planning department can tell them that it should be a full application in view of all the other aspects, the flooding, the out of character, the conservation area, etc.
Okay, well, can I propose that we get a letter in some kind of semi-abstract way and get it then sent to you, and you can put your own feeling to it, and then on, I don't mean as an action group, and we will then, with your thoughts, and then combine it, and we can send it down, including the flood committee's comments about that the actual construction point is unsustainable at this time.
I think that would be a good first step.
Okay, we'll try hard to do that and get it done within the month. Okay. Fair enough? Thank you.
Mr. Matthews. Brian.
Sorry?
Is there any way...
The shop is cheap, I can't see.
Is there any way about the expected effect on the water supply of the Jack's Lane one?
I'm sorry,
the prospective effect on Marchington's water supply for the Jack's Lane one, because I'm right at the end. I'm the last house on the Marchington.
You mean the water pressure you're talking about?
Yeah, indeed. It is an issue.
Sometimes it's so low.
It is an issue in
Sometimes it's so low that our boil will work.
houses up there, yeah. That's water.
Yeah, it's a water issue, not
Well, no,
No, is there any way we can find out?
consulted.
Trent.
Put more houses. They will.
Okay, can we include
You can add that to the letter.
Yeah.
Linked to the water.
So we're talking about putting down water pressure, water pressure drops.
If you put 40 more houses there, we won't have any water. None of them will enjoy.
They have a pond.
We don't.
Okay. Does that conclude it, or what? Oh, there's bricks.
This lady suggested that somebody designating a monitor.
We've heard it. Can I mention this lady's name? Assume so, yes, you didn't say so. We've had an email from Kelly Moore, who's talking about grit boxes in the village. She's talking about snowfall on Boxing Day and also 30th of January. She says, having watched cars and vans and even 2 police cars on Boxing Day evening unable to negotiate the junction of Church Lane, the square and the High Street due to snow and ice, I wonder why the grit box outside the village hall is empty and has been for some time. Actually, that's been filled.
It has, but at the critical time it was empty.
It was empty, yes.
That's correct.
So is it worth designating a person or persons nearby to monitor this and even to spread some of the grit on the road under certain circumstances?
Well, persons in the village
I
did
don't know.
actually spread.
I'm sure they would do
spread
it,
some,
if they
but I'm not sure that anybody did. Well, they wouldn't from that one because it was empty. But it is a good idea for people to be aware, or to monitor what the level is, and to notify Linda when those are down.
So
because if we're in a situation where it's DIY as regards gritting, because Staffordshire County Council have only got 42 snowplows and grit lorries, then at least let's have some material for us to spread ourselves.
Yeah. So would it be a good idea to put a little letter to the nearby houses and say, can you keep an eye on the grit box?
For anybody walking past,
anybody
to look at it. You don't need a particular monitor.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
Mrs. would like to be the one who takes note and lets.
But you know, people often don't know the telephone number of the parish council. I just thought a tiny little note going through their door might be good. No, okay.
We could do once a month then, where we can.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have been monitoring these.
But maybe you could put in this notice board, you know, grit box need filling, ring.
What a good idea. Yes. There you are. I noticed in the board. Right.
Yes, good idea.
Right. I don't know about this one. This is a chap called Joe Jordan who lives in Ashley near Market Drayton. And he's only been out of work for over a year due to health problems. He's starting a new business in the new year called Loving Memory Grave Care, tending to the final resting places of people who find it difficult, whether they're just too far away, or may find it difficult to manage the work, or simply find visiting too emotional. What he's basically asking for, he said, I'll be covering Staffordshire, Shropshire and the West Midlands, and I'll be grateful if you permit me a place in a small advert on your parish notice boards around February next year. No? No.
They're not public, it's for parish
Can we
council.
write back to contact the parish
Or put it in the shop.
Or the show.
Yeah, not the
Yeah.
parish.
No. Okay, so if you write back and say it's not a parish matter as such, but if he likes to communicate the same message to the community shop, maybe they'd be happy to put a note in their notice board. Okay.
Any new business?
How about you? Man?
No.
Mr. Man? Mr. Man? Mr. Nixon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No? Right, on the basis of that, I'll close the meeting. Time Well, probably 10 o'clock. And Mr. Langston, I'll see you at a time suitable to you.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Yeah.
Perhaps you send me an email and suggest a time and a day. Within the next week.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Okay.